hair is just not cooperating today. Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. This video is well and truly overdue, so I thought that I would finally get down to it and answer your questions in relation to cloth nappies. So I have been using cloth nappies since Edith was born. We are now 9 months into it and still going really strong, which is absolutely awesome for a number of reasons, which I will do a different video on that. Otherwise this will end up being probably an hour long. Oh, I think I can hear Edith. Oh no. So the first question is, how many do you need for different age groups? So this is a really hard question because it depends what sort of cloth nappies you have. There's one size fits all, there's some that come in like small, medium, large, there's newborn sizes, so it kind of just depends which way you decide to go. We got some newborn covers for the newborn stage, and then after she grew out of the newborn ones, we just have the one size fits all, which means that they adjust and go from a smaller size to a bigger size. So here is the newborn size cover. As you can see, compared to the one size fits all, they are really small. And they also have little snaps here to adjust them. So obviously you have it on the smallest setting while they're really small, and then you can make it a bit bigger just so that you get a little bit of extra life out of them, so then they become that big instead of how small they were. And then with the newborn ones, we used this, which is called a pre-fold, and basically we just did the most basic fold possible, which is the pad fold, and you just insert that into the nappy. And we used some micro fleece as well, which I just found really cheap at the op shop and cut them. It doesn't fray, which is awesome, and you just put it in on top. This stops them from feeling so wet, and it's also really handy because the poo kind of gets caught in this and literally falls off it when you go to put it in the toilet. So I'd recommend you get some micro fleece and use those instead of the other, like the disposable liners, more because if you're going to be washing nappies, you may as well wash these too and reuse them, but also because better for the environment. Obviously this is reusable, the other thing is not, and also because the flushable liners are not actually flushable, so it's kind of a waste of time anyway, because you're gonna have to end up putting them in the bin and therefore they'll go to landfill. So this is another type that we have. It's got snaps at the top as well instead of Velcro, and again it has little ones here to adjust the size. So I'll show you the biggest size there is. So that is as big as it goes. This is the current size that Edith has. So it is huge, and this will last until they are quite big and hopefully toilet trained. But you see, it's huge. It fits over my head. So we just fill this with a mixture of the pre-folds and also inserts, which we have all different types. We have some charcoal ones, we have bamboo ones, we have microfleece ones, heaps of different types, and you just pack it in to try and get as much absorption as possible, and then just shove it inside the nappy. However, we also have this type, which has Velcro at the top and then the snaps down the bottom, but this one comes with its own set of insert, so it has a smaller one and a bigger one, and these just pop out. They're buttoned at the top as well, so you just pop those out to clean them, and then you put them back in and you have a nappy all ready to go. So I hope that answered your question a little bit, that a lot of the time, depending on how big your baby is, you can actually just go one size fits all from birth to toilet training. If not though, the newborn covers you can find really cheap on second-hand cloth nappy sites, and they're usually in really good condition because they're only used for a few weeks. How do you wash them, and what do you use to wash them? So what I do personally is I dry pail them, which means that instead of putting them in a bucket of water to soak in between washes, I actually just put them in a basket that has heaps and heaps of airflow to it. So they sit in the basket for, usually, it depends how many you have, but for me, because I have so many nappies sit in their dry pail for about 2 to 3 days, and then I will wash them. And believe me, no smell whatsoever unless you forget to plop a poo down the toilet, obviously. So mine sit in the dry pail, and then the really, really stinky things like usually the wipes that are used for poo, the micro fleece liners which are used for poo, and even sometimes the pads and covers, if they have poo on them, I will soak those. So I soak mine in, I'm probably not pronouncing it right, but a thing called sodium sesquicarbonate. So it's basically a high alkaline laundry cleaning agent, free of surfactants, optical brighteners and bulking agents. So it is an eco-friendly whitening kind of thing. It takes out a lot of the stains, and I can get it in bulk in a compostable bag, which is basically the main reason why I get that. I was using the Earth Choice for a while, but then I chose not to, more because this has sustainable packaging, but obviously that does work too. So I'll soak the really stinky soiled nappies in some hot water, a little bit of tea tree oil and the sodium sesquicarbonate for about 10 to 15 minutes. So once I've soaked them, I put them in the washing machine with the rest of the nappies, which are usually more just sort of wee ones. And then I use soap nut berries to actually clean them with. So I make a soap nut berry liquid. So I'll put a little bit of that in the machine, and then we're good to go. So I put it on a warm wash for about 2 hours, and that's it. That is how easy it is to clean cloth nappies. It's nowhere near as scary as people think it is, and I would really recommend it, or at least you give it a try. Why did you choose to use cloth nappies? I chose to use cloth nappies because one nappy takes 500 years to actually start to break down in landfill, and if you think about how many nappies are used from birth all the way to toilet training, that is a lot of nappies, and that is a lot of landfill. So that is the main reason that I choose to use cloth nappies, because I care about the environment and I want to create a better future for my baby. So that's the main reason. Another reason is because a lot of the other nappies are full to the brim of chemicals, and the ones that are not and that are 80% biodegradable are a lot more expensive. So in the long run, it is a lot cheaper to buy cloth nappies than be buying disposable nappies. You save a lot of money, and you also save the environment at the same time. So it's basically a big win-win. Do they leak? Basically, it takes a little bit of time to get used to how to bulk them, which is basically this, bulking them with a number of different inserts, pre-folds, all that sort of thing. But it's kind of the same as disposable nappies. We had more leaks with disposable nappies than we did with the cloth nappies. So I think it's kind of a situation where either could leak. But we've had no real problems with the cloth nappies. There's been a few times at night time, but now we have the perfect boosting method and she has not leaked at all. How practical are they when you're not at home? I found them actually really easy. Whenever we've gone away, we've just taken a heap of them, and because we haven't been away for more than sort of, I think, 5 days, then what I'd been doing is I would just put them in a dry pail for that whole time and then wash them when I got home, and they were completely fine. No mold, no stinks, it was fine. But obviously, if you're at a friend's house, we have been able to use their washing machine, which was really handy for us. But in the situations where we haven't, it's been totally fine to leave them for an extra day or two between washes. When going out to town, going out for dinner, all those sorts of things, it's exactly the same as taking a disposable, pretty much, except you're just not chucking it in the bin. Instead, you are putting it into a wet bag, which is basically just a waterproof bag that you'll put your soiled nappies in. It blocks out all the smell and just keeps them contained in their little safe haven, and that's it. So when you go to change them, the nappies will just get put into that bag, so will the wipes, and you're done. So I'd say they're actually quite practical to take around places. They're pretty much the same as disposables. It's just that you will need to bring them home to clean them. What's the difference between wet paling and dry paling? I did sort of touch on this earlier, but wet paling is basically when you put the soiled nappies in a big bucket of water and soak them. I choose not to do this because 1, you can't leave them in between washes as long, 2, they tend to stink, and 3, they can get moldy if you are not careful. So dry paling works for us. Dry paling, like I said, just a big basket that has a lot of airflow. I'll go get my one to show you. So this is what we use for our dry pail. Here is a stinky nappy. As you can see, a lot of airflow, no lid. Some people choose to use a lid. I haven't felt the need to use one. Some people also line the bags with a reusable sort of calico bag type thing. I choose not to do that either. I just tuck them in here and it sits in my laundry for a few days till I clean them. And I find that works really good. There's no smells whatsoever. Like, no smells. Another question is, how much did you spend? So we started off with 32 cloth nappies, about 54 of the inserts. We started with 24 pre-folds, and we also got 6 newborn nappy covers, and we only spent $180 because we joined the Modern Cloth Nappy buy and sell page, and we managed to find some there. We also brought some off some friends who had tried cloth nappies. They were all in perfect condition, and as you can kind of tell, $180 is super duper cheap. On that though, I will say that we spent a little bit more just because the micro fleece liners. I was lucky that I found this at the op shop, so I managed to make about, probably 60 of these, and because I found it at the op shop, that only cost me an extra $2, so we're up to $182. There is micro fleece at a lot of op shops, I've noticed. If not though, you can buy them off Crafty Stash Facebook groups, which are obviously cheaper than in store, or you can just go to Spotlight or your local material place and buy them, and it shouldn't be too much, and in the end it is well and truly worth it if you look at how much you spend on the liners, the flushable liners. It ends up cheaper just getting a heap of these and just cutting it. Took me 10 minutes to just cut about 60 of these. I then spent $6 getting 2 of these, so they were $3 each, and it's just a reusable wipe container. It's got the lid, all that, exactly the same as, I guess, a wipes bag, but it is plastic and reusable. So that cost me an extra $6, so technically $188 there. And then as we use reusable wipes as well, this I found at the op shop. It is a terry cloth. I also have some pink flannelette ones that I made too, and that cost me again another $5, and I have about 110 of these reusable wipes. I just sewed around the outside. You don't actually have to do that, but I chose to do it just because I wanted them to last longer. Hello Marley. So that they would not fray. But that's our reusable wipe. And the last question is, what do you use for wipes? We use these, which is terry cloth and flannelette. I just tip a little bit of water into here, sometimes some essential oils, and I make sure that I don't put too many in here at once, just in case I don't end up using them all. Anyway, thank you so much for everyone who asked me questions to do with cloth nappies. If you have any extra questions, please feel free to comment down below and I will try and get back to them, or maybe do another video. If you'd like me to do my cloth nappy cleaning routine, let me know. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!
It's